Have you ever stared at a math problem and just felt like you were trying to read a completely different language? Well, today, we're going to crack that code. We are going to learn how to translate those confusing word problems into simple, solvable equations.
Seriously, if you've ever looked at a page full of words and variables and felt totally lost, you are not alone. It can feel like someone's asking you to translate something without giving you a dictionary. But what if I told you that dictionary actually exists? And today, we're going to learn exactly how to use it.
And that, right there, is our goal. We're not just finding answers today, we are mastering the skill of algebraic translation. It's really the art of turning everyday language into the language of math. So let's start with the absolute basics, the most common building blocks you're going to find. This is the foundation of our new language, addition and subtraction. Trust me, these operations pop up everywhere. Think of this as your first vocabulary list. Just like in any language, certain words are direct clues. So when you see words like profit or exceeds, your brain should immediately go, aha, addition. And on the flip side, when you see words like lost or cut from, that's a huge signal for subtraction.
Okay, let's look at our first problem. We need to figure out the original length of this piece of lumber. The key here is to hunt for the words that tell us what mathematical action actually happened. Do you see any from our list?
We can break this down into a super simple three-step translation. First, we figure out what our variable is, which is c, the remaining length. Second, we spot the action phrase, cut from. That tells us something was taken away. So to reverse that and find the original, we have to do the opposite. We've got to add it back. And boom, there's our final translation. The original length was just the part that's left, c, plus the 12 centimeters that were cut off. See? We've successfully turned a whole sentence into a clean, simple mathematical expression. All right, ready for another one? Let's do it. This time, we're starting with a total amount and something is being taken away. So what's the key word here that's signaling the operation we need to use? Did you spot it? The key word is lost, which is a direct translation for subtraction. He started with $1,000. He lost D dollars, so what he's left with is represented by 1,000 minus D. Simple as that.
Now let's level up and see how this same exact idea works with multiplication and division. These are your go-to tools anytime you're dealing with rates or scaling something up or splitting things into equal parts. Like figuring out how much to tip or splitting a check with your friends.
And hey, you guessed it, we have another vocabulary list. Words like times, per, or rate of are really strong clues for multiplication. And then phrases like 1/2 of, split between, or cost per item point us straight towards division.
Now here is a classic multiplication problem. We've got a price for one item, and we want to find the cost for a bunch of them. That word cost implies a rate, right? It's $150 per suit. And the translation is super straightforward. The cost of one suit, 150, multiplied by the number of suits, n, gives us the total cost, 150n. See how that works?
Okay, let's switch gears to division. This problem gives us a relationship between two things. The width isn't some fixed number, it's a fraction of the length. So how do we translate 1/2 of? This one's a dead giveaway. The phrase 1/2 of is the direct signal to divide by 2. So the width is simply the length, L, divided by 2. Now, this is the same as multiplying by 1/2, but writing it as a fraction like this is just so much cleaner.
All right, we've got the basic vocabulary down pat. So now we can start putting these words together to form complete mathematical sentences. And this is where translation gets really, really powerful.
Okay, I know. At first glance, this problem looks a lot more complicated. But don't worry, it's just two of our simple phrases stuck together. We have a flat fee and we have a per minute charge. All we need to do is translate each part separately.
A table like this really helps break the problem down. So the first piece is easy, a flat fee of $45. Done. The second piece is the charge per additional minute. Now this is the tricky part. M is the total number of minutes, but that flat fee already paid for the first 3. So the number of additional minutes we actually have to pay for is the total, M, minus those first 3. That's where that M minus 3 comes from. Then we just add those two parts together for our final expression.
Okay, you ready for the final boss? Let's tackle one last problem to really prove that we are getting fluent in the language of algebra. This one has multiple steps and different rates, just like a real-world utility bill. This tiered rate system looks intimidating, I get it, but it's really just a series of expressions that we need to figure out and then add together.
We're going to use the exact same strategy as before. Break it down piece by piece.
And this is where it all clicks into place. Let's take it one tier at a time. First, the cost for the initial 3 CCF is a flat $5. Easy. Next, we figure out the cost for the second tier. That's the next 6 CCF. At 75 cents each, that's 6 times 0.75, which is $4.50. Finally, we handle the rest of the gas. Since G is the total, and we've already dealt with the first 9 CCF, that's the 3 plus the 6, the leftover amount is G minus 9. That part is charged at 55 cents each. All we do is add all those pieces together for the total cost.
So, at the end of the day, what's the game plan? Well, it all comes down to a really simple process. First, you identify your variable. Then, you hunt for those keywords that tell you which operation to use. You build your expression piece by piece. And remember, when things look complicated, you always break the problem down into smaller, more manageable chunks.
You know, this skill isn't just for passing a math test. It is a really powerful tool for thinking logically about the world. From figuring out your monthly budget to planning a project timeline, you now have the tools to translate real-world situations into the language of algebra. So the real question is, what will you translate next?